Hi, I'm Jean Kwok, and today I'd like to talk to you about libraries and what they've meant to me in my life. I'm a first generation Chinese immigrant, and we moved from Hong Kong to Brooklyn, New York when I was 5 years old. We wound up living in the slums of Brooklyn and in an unheated apartment that was completely overrun with roaches and with rats. To make things even worse, my family started working in a clothing factory in Chinatown, and I went along with them to help, even though I started when I was only 5. I spent most of my childhood living in that apartment and working at the factory. The apartment, the vermin was bad, but the fact that it was unheated meant that it was painfully, bitterly cold. And my family, of course, had no money, which meant that there was nothing left over for toys or books or anything like that. So maybe you can imagine what my public library meant to me at that time in my life, because it was truly a refuge. Not just a refuge in the sense of intellectually, which I think many people find that, but it was also a physical refuge. It was a place where I could go and be warm and be in a clean environment, a safe environment, filled with lovely librarians who I love to this day, and who cared about me. And instead of being the factory managers who only cared about how much work they could get out of all of us, including the children, of which I was not the only one. At the factory, these were people who cared about reading and about books and about, a whole world that opened up for me in the library. So at the beginning, I didn't speak any English. And so it was quite a struggle for me to learn to read, coming from Chinese, which is a completely different language than any Western language, of course. And then once I started to read, I totally fell in love. And the only thing I wanted to do was to read from that point on. But I do remember that at the beginning, I was in the lowest level of my class for a very long time. And it was really with the help of the library that I managed to overcome that. And then the other thing I really remember about libraries from my childhood was that there were no books in my house. There were really absolutely no English books simply because my family couldn't afford them. And so what that meant was that the only books I ever owned were a gift to me from the library. And I remember the library had these amazing literacy programs where if you read so many books, they'd give you a free one. I was like, oh my God, this is a win-win. You can read and you get a book. And I cherished those books. I would read them again and again and again. I still have them. They're completely dog-eared, and I think I know every word in those books. But I loved them. And I'm really quite sure that I would not have become the person I am today. And I definitely would not have become a writer if there had not been a public library that I had access to. And I'm talking to you in front of this bookcase, which means so much to me because it's not only filled with books, it's filled with my books, which it's kind of miraculous to me. And it seems like there are a lot of them, but I've actually only written 3 books. But my books have been translated into 20 languages. And I think it's such an incredible honor. It still kind of shocks me every day when I look at these books. And I think about how, I contributed maybe to literacy, to life, that I'm a part of this world that I admired so much as a child. And none of it could have been possible without the library. Thank you.